7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, this is Liz Cambage. This is Nikki Collins.
What up, guys? It's Essence Carson.
Hey, this is Imani Media Stafford.
Hey, this is Jordan Canada.
This is Asia Wilson.
Welcome to the WNBA Nation.
WNBA Nation, I'm Logan Jones. I'm hosting today an episode. You know what it is. You know what week it is. It's draft week, and we're doing a mock draft for you. We've got two of my co-hosts with me today. First up, we've got Jason Snow, who's on the mic. Jason, how you doing?
I am doing really well. My eyes are a little bit sore from trying to overanalyze all of the draft options from this year, but I think I'm ready to have this conversation, so I am stoked. I'm excited. How are you doing, Logan?
I'm great. I'm excited to have you out from behind the producer's desk, where sometimes we throw you to make sure that we all sound good.
Get back there. Wait, there's pizza at the producer's desk. It's all good. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, you get the coolest headphones, so you look the best on Twitch, where you can also watch this episode stream live as we record tonight. We've also got co-host Kyle Haywood. Kyle, what's going on?
Oh, just stoked out of my mind and spending way too much time hyper-analyzing where everybody's going to go in this year's draft. It's becoming a problem. I seriously spent like 4 hours the other day just like really thinking about it and like, oh, what about this? What about that? And like talking myself in and out of every scenario and where everybody's going to go, especially in the first round. But other than that, I'm doing fantastic. And honestly, okay, that's kind of a fantastic element of my life right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's a reason we only do one mock draft episode a year right before the draft.
So true.
I have a lot of admiration for those websites that put out like a version 2, version 3. I don't have the temperament for that. I think it's fun to do it like 2 days before actual draft day so that we get our takes out and then we find out if we're right or wrong pretty soon after. We're really excited to do this episode. We are, as I mentioned before, streaming this on Twitch. We've got listeners able to chime in with us as we go pick by pick. Guys, the format for this episode is simple. We've got some news that we can touch on at the end, kind of in the back half of the show. We're going to launch right into our kind of fantasy style mock draft. So this will not be each of our individual lists, but this will be a combined effort. We'll go one pick at a time and kind of walk you through the names you need to know coming up for this Thursday's WNBA draft, which will be held on ESPN starting at 5 p.m. This is going to be fun. And we're going to be live streaming that draft on Thursday. So you can join us for this episode and then get more draft content later in the week as things kind of unfold. Before we kind of get going, as you were putting your lists together, I'm sure you noticed something, both of you, that there's something about this draft. There's something about this draft, and I don't want this to be insulting to anybody in this draft, but there is no clear Asia Wilson type pick in this draft, unless I'm mistaken.
No, I think you're right, Logan. We were actually just talking about that before we hopped on the stream. There's so many different ways this draft could go, and it really just depends on, does this team like this player? Because even if you're like, I don't know if Sabrina Ionescu really is everything that she's cut out to be, even if she's not, we're still taking her number one, like it wouldn't matter. And so that's kind of where we've seen drafts in the past, Bree Stewart, Asia Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, like those were just obvious number one picks. This one, I don't know. I think I still have probably 3 and maybe a 4th that I think could potentially go number one. I really think it'll come down to one of 2 players, but we'll see.
Yeah, I knew this episode was coming all day today, and every time I saw stuff on Twitter that was like 3 years ago today, Asia Wilson was drafted, I just remembered like, oh yeah, like the WNBA draft has a long history of the number one overall and often the very top few picks being pretty top heavy. Even in drafts with a lot of depth, there were some game changer level players. This year, I think it's going to be a lot more about who fits where, what GMs are in love with what players, and kind of another element of this that we've talked about in years past, but is even kind of more a big deal this year. There's not roster spots for all these rookies. On Thursday, we're going to watch 3 rounds of the draft, kind of knowing that those second and third round players, those are going to be, they're getting their foot in the door, but they might be headed over to Europe. They might have some other things in the works because they're probably not going to touch the floor in a pro game here in America for a year or two. There's 144 spots, and like not even the entire first round of rookies is probably going to make rosters.
That it feels so crazy that I can't remember what the exact numbers are, but yeah, like there's a decent chance not all of the first round picks even are on the roster this year. Like that's just saying that out loud and hearing that is just weird. That's just crazy to me with how tight this is. I mean, there were several players last year that got drafted really high and didn't get much of a chance just because of what last year ended up being.
If there are no more preamble takes, we can get right into it. Guys, we didn't decide who was going to start this off. So unless there's any arguments, I think we're just going to go in order. We're just going to go clockwise according to who's on my Twitch screen. So Kyle, you're in the top left. You got the jerseys behind you. I know it's a little bit of pressure to find out you got the overall number one pick like seconds before we get going.
That's all right. I'll just trade it away in the next 5 seconds like Seattle did. Is that allowed?
Dude, I almost forgot that happened.
What do you think I could get for it? Do you think I could get Katie Lou Samuelson for it?
Bro, you'd be so lucky.
Because if I could pick her up for my daughter's 6-year-old team, I think we're going to do pretty well.
Guys, remember how everybody kind of hammered Seattle for making that trade? And now it's like, well, would you rather have the number one pick in this draft or someone who's played pro a little bit?
And then everybody's like, well, good point.
So maybe reigning champion Seattle Storm knows a little thing or two about building a...
That was not a knock. That was just more of a callback to that moment that was like, whoa, Seattle's got the number one pick after winning it all? Just kidding. Like within seconds on Twitter, it was like, oh, never mind. Okay. I was like, how did that happen?
Without further ado, Kyle, take it away.
Whew. All right. Dallas, number one overall, and technically number two coming up as well. But number one overall, I am taking Awa Queer from Finland. And I am I feel extremely confident in this pick. I really, really like the type of ball that she plays. She plays kind of an extended stretch big. We've seen how some of those players have panned out in this league. Players like, Bree Stewart and others that can kind of play that stretch big position. Candace Parker, even. I think that she's a great fit for the future of the league. And she's only I think 19 or 20. She's young. And so she's one of the younger players coming into this draft. I think that she is a great fit for Dallas. They need bigs. And in my opinion, she has the highest ceiling by far of any big in this draft. I think I don't think Dallas is going to be vying for the title this season, so why not take the player with the highest ceiling that you can draft to pair with someone like Satu Sabali in the back court or in the front court? I think it's a no-brainer to take her number one. So there's my number one pick. I'm curious what you guys, what your thoughts were on taking her.
I'm excited you took her because if you didn't, I was going to take her for Dallas as the second, and then I'd have to pronounce her name and butcher it. So I appreciate you doing that for me.
I probably pronounced it incorrectly, but I did my very best. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and highlights of her. That's the best pronunciation I could do for now. I promise I'm going to work on that and do better. But some of the broadcasts are in other languages, and I just try and pick out her name from in the middle of it. So
yeah, when the W releases their official pronunciation media guide, we'll be all over that.
Yes.
No, I like the pick. I like the analysis. I do think Dallas needs bigs. I also think that the last time Dallas was fun to watch was when Liz Cambage was putting up 50 points. So to see them get bigs, I think you got to get some excitement down in Dallas. I feel like Dallas feels directionless right now. So I like that. I'm not going to talk too much because I've got the next pick, but that's my takes on your pick. I like it. I might have gone the same way had you not.
Yeah, I also like it. And I like the process of going with upside. I know that's a buzzy term around draft season in every sport when coaches and managers start talking about high upside. Everybody's high upside. But in this draft where things are a little bit weaker and a little bit murky, I think you take the player, you take the boom or bust instead of the known commodity that's going to be average to mediocre. So if you take a player like Queer that could be a defensive player of the year someday versus, some of the other players on our list that are just going to be like okay rotational pieces, I think that's using your draft picks wisely. So I agree with the process. I like the pick. We're going to jump right over to Jason for pick number 2, which is also Dallas.
I know that online, a lot of people are picking the 1 and 2 pretty similarly, kind of switching spots a few times, but I'm actually going to go a different direction. Obviously, Dallas needs bigs, and they need that, but they also need energy, and no name that I can think of right now has better energy than Aari McDonald. So I'm going Aari McDonald, pick number 2 for Dallas.
I'm clapping right now, just in case you can't tell. That's actually who I had going number 2. Jason, we are on the same wavelength, which is going to throw a ton of people off because a ton of people are going to be thinking Charlie Collier. Charlie Collier is the one that everybody has either going number 1 or number 2. I have her dropped down to my number 3 pick. And it's for some of those reasons that you were just saying, Jason. I think that Aari McDonald has so much momentum. She comes in, she's got a really good, she can score the ball really well, and putting her and Agumbawale in the same backcourt is dangerous. That's really, really solid. I think that long term, I have more confidence in Aari McDonald in the WNBA than I do Charlie Collier. Charlie Collier seemed to disappear anytime that she faced a formidable front court in college, and that's every night in the WNBA. And so I do think Charlie Collier is a WNBA ready player. I think she also has decent draft bust potential.
Interesting. Obviously, we all fell in love with Aari McDonald during the tournament. We loved what Arizona did. We loved her energy. She didn't have the best showing in the final game, but it still came down to her last second shot because she was the best player on the Wildcats team. They wanted to give her a chance to win it. I have a problem with it, though, and that's that she's not as reliable as I would like. I believe there's another guard in this draft that I would trust a little more. And not without giving away my next pick. I'm nervous. I want McDonald to succeed. I mean, we could say that about every player, so I guess that's kind of glib. But McDonald being a fun player in the WNBA makes the league more exciting because it made the tournament more exciting. But boy, does she make me nervous. I do not think she's that great of a 3-point threat. I think she can definitely get hot, but she can get equally cold, and you do not want her in the game when she is cold. And it's just, I think there's another player that I would have taken above her if she was available. And it's probably who I'm going to take next because it's my pick next. And it's the Atlanta Dream, and I'm going to take Dana Evans out of Louisville.
Whoa!
I think Dana Evans is the better of the two. I have her and McDonald pretty close. They're both guards. They're both similar builds. Dana Evans, 20 points per game at Louisville. She's a 35% 3-point shooter, so it's not like she's lights out, but she is more consistent. I like the idea. It's not necessarily the biggest area of need for Atlanta. I know Atlanta could go defense with what Nikki Collin wants to do there, but I wanted to grab Evans as soon as I could, and if she fell to me, I kind of decided I would take her. So I'm going to pick her there and kind of roll with the dice with the strategy I guess stood up for at the beginning of this draft, which is high upside players that can turn into really solid pieces in the league versus, I don't know. That could describe McDonald too. I understand that that's dumb, but I don't trust her.
I like the pick, Logan. I'm really surprised you didn't take Collier because Collier, I think Atlanta needs bigs. And Collier, again, I didn't have her going to Dallas. And I was saying that I did drop her, but I only dropped her to 3. So I was surprised she didn't go at 3rd. I love Dana Evans. I think she's fantastic. I think she's WNBA ready. So I like that. I would be stoked to see what she and Kennedy Carter could do as a rookie and sophomore duo in the backcourt in Atlanta. I think that's a lot of fun. There's a lot of potential to get up and down the floor very quickly with those two in your backcourt. I really, really like that.
I feel like I picked Evans there as much for her sake as kind of we need to cool. Personally, I think we need to cool our feelings on Aerie a little. Because she had such a fun tournament. A lot of people in the chat right now on Twitch are saying like, yeah, I could see her going number 2. She like proved it in the tournament. And I just think, man, like that's a really small sample size to use a premium pick on. And I know it's a murky draft and that anything could happen, but I want players with high ceilings that I can trust to shoot the ball well. And Atlanta needs a little bit of everything. They certainly could use a big. They could flip this pick for something more established on another team who wants to come up and get Evans or Collier, which might be the wise move here. Get a little bit more veteran presence there. But the Dream finished in last place last season, and they didn't score a lot of points. And I think Evans at least makes things a little interesting. Obviously, they're going to get healthier in the backcourt as well this year. So that's what I got. Kyle, you're up.
Okay. Well, for Indiana, I did not anticipate this player to still be on the board. I think that you got to go with Charlie Collier here. I think that, if she's fallen to 4, again, I think she has very high potential to be a bust, but she also has very high potential to be the best player in this entire draft. Like when she was on playing for Texas, she was unstoppable. But then every once in a while she would disappear. So that's why I was a little cool on her. But Indiana locking her up at the 4 spot, I think you got to be stoked if you're the Fever. Imagining a Tierra McCowan like Charlie Collier front court duo is terrifying for anyone. I think to have to go against those two players in the same game would be absolutely terrifying. So I think Charlie Collier is a great fit. For Indiana, I think Indiana needs guards more, but I don't think that you can let Collier fall any further than 4. If she's available, you have to take her at this spot. So that's why I'm taking her for Indiana.
I'm interested, Jason. Do you feel like that's true? Do you have to take her there if she falls?
I don't know. Indiana's a tricky puzzle to put together. I don't know that if I'm Indiana, if I'm putting all of my energy into a big, I think I might be a little bit more concerned about my mid-range and long shooting.
Wings. Yeah, your wings are not the Dallas Wings, but like the wing players for Indiana are really shallow right now.
So I might have gone a different direction. But that being said, I think Kyle has a point in that Collier represents one of those players that might stick it out in the league for several years and become a good part of a functioning team. So I could, it's one of those things like she does have the potential upside to maybe be with their team for 5-6 years and be a good productive player. So I see it with both Aerie and Evans off the board. I think maybe I can agree with that, but I still might go for a shooter. There's a few shooters left on the board that I might have picked first, but I don't think it's a bad pick by any means. I might have gone a different direction for Indiana.
So here's a thought, throwing this out there, because this wasn't really an option. If Collier's available at 4, are other teams scrambling trying to offer Indiana a trade?
Maybe.
Because if so, I think that might be a little bit more of a interesting take for Indiana, because they don't need bigs necessarily. They need scorers. They need backcourt.
I would put it this way. If I'm Indiana and someone rings my phone and says, and they come with a fair package for that pick, Collier is not a player I'm in love with enough to keep her. I would probably make the trade.
That's probably where I'm sitting as well.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of who would make that call. Like, my head says maybe New York. Maybe New York goes for some size. I don't know. I'm trying to think who would make that call and try to swap in.
Yeah, I think pairing someone like Collier with someone like a Natasha Howard in the front court of New York could be really interesting. Yep. I think that's a really good call, Jason. But again, we're not playing trades here, so
yeah. If New York was willing to swap, New York's first pick is number 6. If they were willing to do a pick swap and then add something else to make it worth their time, I would do that. And then there's another player I really like that's still on the board that Indiana could get at 6, and I think could be just as good as Collier.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm trying to not be super frosty. I'm not a Collier.
You guys all realized Collier's definitely going number 1 overall after this, right? Like we all can agree on that.
100%. I am not a Collier believer. I'll put it that way. Jason, it is you, and it's pick number 5 to... Oh, look, Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas. That's going to be a theme of the episode. If you're playing a drinking game today, the keyword is Dallas. You won't survive.
This is the
I'm
Dallas
sorry.
Wings mock draft with like cameos from a couple other teams.
Yeah. Anyways, I was going to go with Collier for Dallas. I think reinforcing their size would have been good there. That being said, I really like Renia Davis out of Tennessee, and so that's who I am going to pick with the number 5 selection.
Great pick.
She's really good. I think she could be a better shooter. Mm-hmm. I would like her to shoot better, but I still think that that's the right place to take her.
I think she'll add an element of defense that Dallas doesn't currently have, and that's one of the things I like about her. Yeah,
she basically... I read a really good mock draft earlier today that was like, against the Liz Cambages of the world, she's going to struggle. Mm-hmm. But like, who doesn't? That's like a stupid, like, you're looking at rookie talent in this draft and you're thinking, who can be a good piece for us?
I'm going to say everyone does that.
Yeah. All right. Any other reactions? I think that's just a solid place for her. I know she's a frequent on a lot of draft boards. This takes us to my pick, which is the New York Liberty from Connecticut via Phoenix. Ooh. That's a long...
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. Nobody wants this pick, which is fun for me because I really like... Oh, I'm going to get her name wrong. The girl out of Rutgers who scores 21 points per game.
Garantes?
This is where she goes. She goes to New York to play with Sabrina. I think she's really good, and I think she's a good do-it-all utility player. She rebounds well. She moves the ball well. She averaged 5 assists per game in addition to scoring the ball. So you're looking at probably a Sabrina ball-dominant Liberty team next year with her back and healthy. And they've got some other rookie pieces around that they're going to try to get involved with down on the post. You need a player to kind of keep the rhythm of the offense alive, who can be in there getting rebounds, who's not afraid to take the shot if she's open. I really like her there. I got to learn these names, though. I'm so scared to try to pronounce her name, guys. I'll have it by Thursday. But that's where I want her to go. That's like if I was to throw my hat in the ring and have to bet money on one of these to actually be right. I feel pretty good about New York taking her there.
I like that pick. Here's the thing. Some of these teams that have these high draft picks don't need bigs. Mm-hmm. They need bigs is what I'm trying to say. They need bigs, and this is a guard heavy draft. And I think New York's one of those teams that kind of needs another big in there with Natasha Howard. Like, they kind of need that. Like they've shored up quite a bit. They're doing pretty well in their backcourt, especially with obviously Ionescu and others. Like, that's a good looking backcourt. I think bringing in somebody for their front court would be smart. But at this point, most of the top players in this draft are guards. Yeah. And so you got to kind of take the best player available, which I think that's a solid pick.
I'm a big believer, and I know this is controversial in like mock draft circles in all sports. I'm a big believer in best talent available, unless there's just like a bleeding need for a specific position, because there's just so many other ways to acquire players that your draft picks need to be used when they're at their most valuable, right? Like if you pick a player for their size, if they're not the most talented player in the world, it immediately kind of decreases in value to me. So that's my strategy. I hope New York does it. Kyle, something new this time. You've got Dallas from Chicago.
Here's the thing. I actually really like the way that this draft has panned out for Dallas in our mock draft. I think that they've actually done very well. So far, they've got Queeter, Ari McDonald, Renia Davis. That's really solid. Yeah. That's 3 really, really solid picks. And when I take Natasha Mack at this last pick, I think that this is where they get another front court player who, in my opinion, if Collier is better than Mack, it's not by much. I actually really, really am high on Natasha Mack. I'm not surprised that she's available at this pick, but I do think that I think I'm higher on her than maybe some others. She led the entire country in blocks this season. She's a phenomenal interior defender. And Dallas, if you're going to have Queer, McDonald, and Renaya Davis, you got to get a big in there that can defend. And so Natasha Mack, I think, is a really, really good pick.
I like Natasha Mack better than I like Collier. She's actually the player that, if Indiana has the pick and Collier's available, I would trade down and try to get Mack at 6, because I think she's actually got a just as high of a WNBA ceiling as Collier does.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Mack in the top 5, but who knows? She might not even make the first round based on how this draft goes.
I think she's a lock for the first, just because there's such a scarcity for bigs who can both pass the ball and defend a little bit at the rim. And it's,
that makes sense.
It's hard to trade for those players. I know I just said that you can acquire size in a lot of ways, but it is hard to trade for those players once they're established. So someone will see the value in 4 blocks, 2 steals a game. And I think she'll go in the first. Well, good pick. I kind of debated taking her with my Liberty pick, ended up pivoting. Kyle immediately snatched her up. He's having a really good, he's probably winning the fantasy draft right now. Finally, a non-Dallas team is on the board. Jason, you've got Chicago's pick from Phoenix via Dallas.
I like how you have all of these traits.
So it is a Dallas pick.
It was a former Dallas pick.
The first round goes through Dallas. We know this to be true. Chicago is an interesting team after picking up Candace Parker, because I feel like they've closed some of the holes. And so now I honestly feel like they're picking for a support player, a bench player, somebody that can get some minutes, maybe relieve somebody like a Vandersloot. That being said, a player that I think could step up and be a good role player in that type of a way is Kiana Williams out of Stanford. Good guard. I think I think she needs some development, but I think that she has a high roof. So
I love that pick.
Can't go wrong with any of those Stanford players after what we saw in the tournament.
I will say, although it's weird, although they won the title, for me, I was so impressed with how well-rounded Stanford was. I don't know if this is like a Stanford, if it's one of those scenarios where even though an outstanding performance didn't happen necessarily from Williams, winning a title is hard to argue against. You know what I mean? So I think that if you, a few years back in 2012, Kentucky men's team had 5 first-round draft picks. Anthony Davis went number 1 overall, and he actually was 6th on his own team in points per game. But people could see that the talent was there, regardless of the fact that he wasn't putting up the numbers. I feel like Kiana Williams might fall in that type of scenario. So I do like this pick, although there might be other more flashy picks out there. I don't know if Chicago needs that right now. I think Kiana Williams comes in and knows how to play with a lot of talent around her, and that's exactly what she's going to get in Chicago. So I like that pick, Jason.
Well done, man. Yeah, your last 2 picks really screwed me up. I really thought I had something going here, but I like who Minnesota is getting at 9. I'm actually going to be in lockstep with my guy Aryeh over at Winsider. I want the Lynx to take a bucket getter, someone who's a 2-way player, who gets to the line, who shoots a good percentage from the foul line, even contributes a couple rebounds per game. I'm talking about Arkansas's Chelsea Dungy.
Yes. Okay. I was wondering when Dungy would go.
Yeah, I think she's going to go after Evans and McDonald. Well, not certainly. Depends on what teams like, I guess. But we've seen what she can do this year at Arkansas, and I know small sample size again, because college is a different game, and Arkansas had some big wins this year and some confusing losses. But man, she just knows how to create off the dribble, and that's something I enjoy watching. It's something that I think Minnesota could certainly use, and this could be Yeah, it fits right into what I think the Lynx' window is, which is get back into the playoffs and do what you can to make a run this year. And then in 2 to 3 years, I think the Lynx are going to be a contender. And if you take a guard in this draft who can both defend and get some points on the board when your starters are sitting during those bench minutes, you've got a major support role in Chelsea Dungey that could help you win a championship. And that's what the Lynx are all about. I think that's what their mindset's going to be coming in here. So I'm happy getting her at 9. I think that's about the right place for her to go.
I wouldn't be surprised if she goes higher because of her scoring potential. Like, she can take over games scoring. Mm-hmm. And I think some of those teams earlier could want that. But I agree with you. I think that this is a good spot. Minnesota could shore up some of their scoring. They've got phenomenal defense. They've got back-to-back rookie of the years. They're a really good, well-rounded team. Adding another player who can just scorch teams from the floor and get buckets might be perfect for Minnesota.
All right, Kyle, you're up. It is pick number 10, Los Angeles. Finally some new blood on the board here.
It's funny that you actually went chalk with the Winsider draft, because that's exactly what I'm doing with my pick at number 10. I'm going Didi Richards because Didi is a phenomenal defender. Like, doesn't put up crazy amounts of points, but handles the ball well, can distribute really well, and is a lockdown defender around the perimeter. Like, absolutely. We saw what she did against Paige Beckers. Like, yeah. In that first half, especially, like, just didn't allow and Paige got her buckets eventually, but I don't think she had an assist in that game. Am I incorrect in that? I don't believe she had an assist in that game. If not, maybe it was the next round. I believe that was the case. And I think that's a huge part of Paige's repertoire is her ball distribution. And so I really like Didi Richards. I think that's a good fit for her in LA. If she didn't go to LA, I think Seattle would maybe look to lock her up as a perimeter defender after having just lost Alicia Clark. So I think that's I think that's a big big reason why Didi might go to LA, is because you can't allow Seattle to have another lockdown perimeter defender.
Yes, you can.
We saw what happened with the last couple of seasons.
I really like Didi a lot, and if she's 100% healthy, I know she's not the greatest shooter in the world, but having a 6'2" guard who can lock down scorers like Paige Beckers, who people are saying would be the number 1 pick in this draft as a freshman, yeah, that's helpful. And I want to like watching her play, and she just seems like the type of player that would go to the Sparks and annoy me, because I would love watching her play there. But I would much prefer her to go to Seattle and play with a team that I want to root for. But dang, that is a really good pick. I mean, she showed it. Speaking of players who kind of upped their stock in this last tournament, I mean, the night and day difference between her being a defensive player of the year on the court and the 19-0 run her team suffered when she was off of it. I mean, she was the spark plug behind that Baylor defense. So
can we also just comment on the fact that the style points of the backcourt between Didi Richards, Chelsea Gray, and Didi Richards and Tia Cooper?
Oh, and Erica Wheeler.
Yeah. And Erica Wheeler. Oh, God, I forgot about Erica Wheeler for a minute. Oh my gosh. Yeah. There can't be a more like swagger filled backcourt than those three if that ended up being the case.
If that's the backcourt, I legitimately have to.
Oh my goodness.
I have to be kind of a closet Sparks fan, because
that's such
fun.
Oh man, that's a backcourt that has to have their own like YouTube channel.
Yeah,
like that'd be fantastic.
Well, very good. We can move on to number 11, Seattle. The reigning champs get a pick here late in the first round. Jason, what do they need here?
As you can see, you probably can't because it's on a tiny screen. I had to cross out Didi Richards. That's who I wanted to pick, but Kyle took it off the table. That would have been the case.
Ruin everything.
Jason's a purist. He has it written on paper. I'm so jealous right now. Mine's on sticky notes on my desktop. Like, yours is on an actual notepad. That's so baller.
Yeah, that's I guess that's cool. Seattle needs to continue to be Seattle, which I think they will in a lot of ways. I don't see huge holes that they're trying to fill. That being said, I think going for a player who can step up on any given night and get them 10 to 15 points, I think would be a valuable thing to just kind of work into the rotation, have in the back pocket. And for that reason, I am going to go with Michaela Onyenwere.
Yes.
All right.
All
right.
I view her as one of those players that she might ride the bench for a little while, but when you put her in, I think that she will keep that Storm machine kind of rolling and chugging along, and I don't really see them having to take a deficit in terms of scoring ability while she's on the court. So
I like it. I think she's a natural leader.
Mm-hmm.
And I think getting into a Seattle team with a couple of other natural leaders, obviously, namely Sue Bird, but also I like what Jordan Canada's doing in the backcourt there. Like, there's some really, really good potential for her to grow in a team that's got a winning culture, but also just lost quite a bit out of their key pieces, with Natasha Howard and Alicia Clark. Like, that opened up some opportunities for someone to come in and play with some of the best that the league has to offer. And I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, I agree. She's just, every time her name comes up, it feels like it's because she has done something that you just get the gravity of someone who's going to play at the next level. Mm-hmm. And in this draft, that's basically all you can hope for. Like, a lot of these players, like we said, maybe they don't make rosters. Maybe they play overseas a year or two. We don't know what's going to happen. But we know none of them really have an Asia Wilson billing coming in. That's not to say that none of them can turn into that, but like, we don't know that yet. And it seems unlikely that we're going to see that. So anytime you can get a player with that ceiling, I think you got to do it. It falls to me to make the last pick of this draft. I've got number 12, Las Vegas. I would have liked to take a big here. I don't think I'm going to.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go to one of the youngest players in the draft from Down Under. I'm going to take Shyla Heal.
Oh, okay.
She's my sneaky pick.
I love that we've always had like these sneaky foreign players.
Yeah, it's tradition.
The last couple of seasons at the 12th pick, and I like it.
Yeah, it really is keeping with on brand having a player from overseas. She's been playing pro ball since she was 14 years old, because unlike US players, other countries aren't dumb when it comes to players being able to have talent younger than age 22. So she's a little bit more seasoned than you'd think for a 20-year-old. I think she could probably be picked by any team and kind of brought up to be whatever a team needs out of a 5'6" guard. But she could go in the second round. She could fall to the third. I don't know where she's going to go, but that's I wanted to bring her up here, half because I think it's fun, but also because I liked I read a different mock draft that had drawn kind of some easy allusions, I guess, to Leilani Mitchell, not just because of the Australian connection, but because that's kind of her best case scenario. And I don't want to draft for safety. If you're Las Vegas, you're getting Cambage back this year. You were a couple games away from a championship last year. You need stuff that's going to make you better in the long run more than you need like an immediate burst from like a big trade or a big Candace Parker acquisition type move like the Sky made. So I think this makes them better now and in the future. And if it takes a year or two to bring her over and add her to the roster, that's fine.
I think that's a fun pick. Mm-hmm. That reminds me a lot of the what was the other pick that we had just recently? Like Katia Laksa?
Yeah.
That was a fun one. Like that, and it just made sense. I think it's a great call out to that. Sticking with tradition, Logan. I love it. I love it.
Gotta get those Aussies in there, man.
Sneaking in. We gotta get more Aussie representation in the W.
Australian women's basketball is legit.
It really is. Yeah, the WNBL is such a solid league. Like, if we were to expand coverage past the WNBA ever, EuroLeague is a natural pick, but the WNBL might be the one that I think would be more fun. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anyway, great selection.
Very fun. The Twitch stream chat is going nuts. We are going to go.
It's going off.
We're going to go snubs. We're not going to give you a full second and third round because as we said, a lot of those players probably aren't necessarily going to make rosters. But that's not to say that we shouldn't give them respect or attention on this happy occasion. There are a couple snubs. There's some players that I like that didn't get selected. I don't think we did anybody dirty too badly, but I'm seeing a Jasmine Walker.
Mm-hmm. Jasmine Walker for sure.
That's a name to know.
Which I have her on my list, but I'd probably be another 4 or 5 picks before I picked her. But she's definitely I have her early second round. Yeah,
she's one to keep an eye on. Our guy Bernard, who's on a lot of the streams, says I'd take Carrington for Vegas as kind of the big that they need.
I like Carrington.
I think everybody here watched that Baylor game and was like, "Yep, we like her."
Oh yeah,
Carrington's good. I think Gondrezic out of West Virginia could be potential. I have her. I've seen her pretty high. I can't remember which one it was. If it was
Winsider had her going to Chicago.
I have her going like early to mid second round, but could easily go first round depending on the fit there.
Yeah, those are the few that came to mind that you certainly should watch out for if you're new to women's basketball in the WNBA. You don't know who's who in college, or you're kind of new and not knowing who's going to go in the draft. Jasmine Walker, good chance to go. If she doesn't go in the first round, she's going to be a steal for somebody in the second. That's all I have for in terms of the draft, guys. I think we did okay. This is one of my favorite episodes that we do.
I was not disappointed.
Obviously, I'll be interested to see how close we are come Thursday. But we've got a decent track record when it comes to these things. You never know, especially with Dallas kind of hoarding so many picks. You never know what might get traded and shuffled around. You kind of expect to see something like that this year, since last year everyone just kind of stood pat and made all their picks. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about with this coming season. We've kind of heard through the grapevine that training camp is going to start April 25th. Again, if you're new to the league, it's kind of a different format than other leagues that you might be used to. They hold the draft like 2 weeks after the NCAA tournament champion is crowned. And then it's like, all right, get your butt to training camp because the season's around the corner. So there's not a lot of, you don't dip your toe in, right? When it comes to WNBA, they kind of throw you in the deep end.
Yeah, it's very quick. You just get thrown right into it and you got to pick it up. Speaking of, we've got our draft live stream that we mentioned it earlier. We officially want to invite all of you during the draft to come and join us live on our Twitch channel. We'll have all 4 of us there, interacting with each of you, talking about the picks as they come through, watching it live with all of you as it happens. So come, make sure if you haven't checked out one of our Twitch streams yet, this is the one to come and be a part of. It's going to be a blast. It's literally just going to be a big party, and celebration of, I feel like the WNBA draft is almost the start of the WNBA season. Even though it's not, it feels that way. Does that make sense? And so I get really excited about the WNBA draft. And so, we're kicking it off. So be here Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific. Come check us out. Twitch.tv/WNBA Nation.
Yeah, I'm excited that we got through this. We got like a couple minutes left on our normal runtime. If you guys want to hit something that was big on Twitter today. Jason, you had something?
I have not been active on Twitter today. Generally, when things get really political, I tend to check out.
Oh,
so I'm not going to be as in tune with the news, but I'm seeing something in our Twitch chat from Size 14 Bernard that there's a rumor schedule's coming out tomorrow. Have you guys heard that at all? And if so, what have you heard? I'm very curious about this.
I heard about a week and a half ago that it would be within the next week or two. So that does fit in the window of said rumor I heard a week and a half ago. So, which I think would be perfect because it would build up more momentum to the draft on Thursday.
Yeah.
Or if it doesn't happen tomorrow, I think that they release it maybe Friday, the day after the draft, and use the momentum from the draft to release it. Yeah. So there we go.
All right.
They've been pretty good at getting the most out of, and by they, I mean the league, getting the most out of like, let's do the jersey reveal, give it some time to breathe, let people react. Then we'll have the draft. Like it would make sense to fit the schedule somewhere in there. I don't think they're just going to like hide it on a Friday night, like, and then there's the schedule. Like they want people to talk about it. So if it gets released tomorrow, that'd be awesome. Get some energy leading up into the draft on Thursday night. Certainly wouldn't hate that. Is there any? I keep thinking the games I want to watch are like last year's heavy hitters. Like I want to see the first Vegas Seattle game. I want to see what Connecticut looks like. Are there any like specific games that are circled on your calendar without even having the schedule out yet?
I always love the rematch of the championship. So the first time the Aces and Seattle match up, I think will be a big time for me, especially where Seattle lost a lot and Las Vegas didn't really lose much, and in fact kind of added to their depth. And then the other one is I'm amped to see the opener for Washington. Really excited for the opener for Washington. With Deladon returning and other players returning to them, plus Alicia Clark on that squad now. That's a scary, scary team, in my opinion. I'm really high on Washington this season, so we'll see.
Yeah, the Mystics were definitely the obvious example of like we're gonna punt the pandemic year. Like they went from reigning champs to like we're pretty much don't worry about it to like now we're gonna see if they're still the reigning champs from 2019.
Yeah.
Like I am excited for the Mystics for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, El Rosenberg just reminded me Alicia Clark is out for the season. And I know that because I've legitimately we've wished her well on her surgery that she just recently had. I just blanked out real quick, was thinking about free agency. Thanks for the reminder. That's why we have
the Twitch chat keeps us honest.
They keep us honest. I legitimately wished her well yesterday. After her and just blanked on that.
The last time any of us saw Deladon in action, she had like multiple injured discs in her back and she was winning a championship. So like I'm very excited to see her back on the court.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Star-Lord's mentioning Sabrina Ionescu. Yes. That will be nice to see her back.
In addition to what you guys said, that was one of mine. I want to see New York versus anyone because I feel like we missed out on Sabrina's rookie season for obvious reasons, and getting to see they're doing something unorthodox there in the fact that like what was it last year they just like completely rebuilt their team from essentially scratch, and so I'm excited to see how that's going along and what that development looks like. Also, I want to see whatever the first game is between Chicago and either Seattle or Las Vegas, because I think Chicago wants this to be their year. They've been one step away for like our entire time covering the league. And so like that first game where they go out to prove themselves and say, we finally got all the pieces together. This is our year to win the title. If they can make that statement, those are the two games I'm marking. In addition to what you guys said, I'm going to watch them all. Tons of good suggestions in the chat. Like Vegas Sky has kind of got a budding, not necessarily a rivalry, but certainly they are testy. Like that one. Lynx Merc, always fun. I'm surprised nobody has said Chicago Sky, LA. That's kind of an obvious, like the Candace Parker.
Oh, as you say that,
there we go.
I
very much want to, because I think you're right. I think the Sky are coming into the season with all kinds of momentum, feeling like it's their championship to lose, even though you've still got Seattle and Vegas and potentially Washington and a couple of the teams to deal with. The Sparks still loaded with talent. Obviously, they're going to want to get the best of Candace Parker's new squad just for, I don't think that there's bad blood there, but I think it matters. So that's one I'll be looking for. I feel good about this. I feel like we can wrap up. There's plenty that we talk about when we're on the Twitch stream with the followers here listening live that you can also be a part of if you jump on the nights we record. We'll announce it on Twitter. We're on a fairly regular schedule at this point where we go on Mondays and Wednesdays. This week will be a little different because Thursday is the draft. But we want you to be a part of that. We get to interact with you as we record the show, and it makes this kind of just a more holistic experience for everybody, I guess. And it's a good time. And we still want you to, search us out on the podcasting apps and networks and leave us those 5-star reviews, which we will read on air because we like making ourselves feel good. And it really helps us get found at this time of year when people are looking for WNBA content and looking to get into a league that they might not know a lot about. Guys, as far as plugs go, Kyle, I'll go to you first. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, just stoked to see all of you hanging out with us at our at our watch party stream for the WNBA draft. And that's mostly what we're excited about. As always, follow us on Twitter at WNBA Nation Pod. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got.
Draft party's going to be awesome. Jason, I know you're going to be there. Anything you want to throw in?
I'm excited for all the stuff we've got coming up. Obviously, we've got some cool stuff as we get hyped for the season with team previews and all that stuff. If you want to support the show, there's many ways to do that now. If you subscribe to us on Twitch, that gives us a few bucks. And if you subscribe via your Amazon Prime membership, if you have an Amazon Prime membership and aren't currently subscribing to anyone on Twitch, you can do it completely free of cost to you. It's part of your Prime membership. You can subscribe to us every month. And that helps out the show. We also have a merch store, WNBANation.storenb.com. That's a good place to go if you want to pick up some good looks. I'm always trying to keep those fresh. And if you have any ideas, hit us up with those. And also now on Twitch, you can donate. So if you just really feel like supporting the show, one thing you can do is go to our About section and drop a donation. That would be so meaningful to us. Obviously, we don't expect you guys to do it, but if any of you are feeling generous, we would make sure to do everything we can with that money to improve the coverage of women's basketball. So, but yeah, that's about it. See you guys on Thursday. I'm so stoked.
Absolutely. We're all going to be there 4:30 Mountain Time on Thursday. We're going to get the stream going. 5 o'clock, things will start happening. We'll get our live reactions. You can join us in the chat. Thank you all for joining us for the WNBA Nation mock draft. Feel free to share this episode with friends and family and followers tomorrow and the next day as we lead up until that draft party. So that's it. That's the episode. Happy for Dallas and a couple of the other teams that get to be a part of that first round. It's going to be fun. Hopefully we've got some interviews coming your way in the future with some of the minds behind these drafts so that we can get a better sense of what these teams are hoping to look like come summer. We'll also have team previews coming your way and another WNBA history episode very soon. So a lot of good stuff happening with the show. Until Thursday, I'm Logan Jones.
I'm Kyle Haywood.
I'm Jason Snow.
And we got you next time.